Hello and welcome to Propel. I'm super excited to be here tonight. I'm Stephanie Mara, your host, and I will be facilitating this leading edge conversation with my special guest tonight, Jackie Robinson. So if you are joining us for the first time, thank you so much for being here and being a part of Propel, joining us for this teleconference series. If you have joined before or maybe watched some of the replays, then welcome back. And again, thank you for being here and sharing this beautiful Tuesday night here with Jackie and I as we get into this leading edge conversation. Well, as I said, I'm Stephanie Morrow. I'm the founder over at Transformation Living Systems, which is a personal development and training company really centered around the mission of building women from the inside out. And one of the ways that we do that is to support women through really facilitating what I call these crucial conversations throughout the year. Of course, COVID impacted the work that we do like it has, so many of you that are watching tonight, and we were not able to meet face to face for the quarterly meetups that we were able to do in times past. And so this Propel teleconference series was a way and an opportunity to continue to show up and serve the tribe and really facilitate those conversations in a virtual setting that we hope will propel really listeners to the next level. So when we think about what it means to be out on the leading edge, I talk about this a lot as I start these interviews each time. And I believe that the leading edge is the place where we are, this thing of destiny that we're all looking for the place that we all feel like that we've been designed and called to be. I said God's best for us is out on the leading edge. I think that success, I think inspiration, I think, so many of the things that we want to experience in this life are waiting for us out on the leading edge. And the leading edge is really the journey that you begin as you begin to leave the comfort zone. I know a lot of people, and I hear people talk about comfort zones, but I never hear people talk about how comfortable they are in those comfort zones. I only hear them talk about how uncomfortable comfort zones are. So I like to think of the leading edge as the place that you begin to approach. And it's not really a place that you go and stay. I believe because our nature is evolving and our nature is to constantly grow and push, that as we really obtain or find ourselves in a certain space, that there's always a next level. And so that leading edge is kind of like a moving target. But I believe that it is the place that many of us desire to be. And it is not a place that is very heavily populated. I mean, if you just look around, there are so many people that are they're stuck in those comfort zones. And so the leading edge is the place where the people like my guest tonight have found themselves stepping out of that comfort zone and approaching that leading edge and showing up and doing the work and serving in a way that ultimately that we've been created to do. And so when we think about limitless leaders, talking about leading edge conversations with limitless leaders and for limitless leaders, these are leaders that have really made the decision to move past all of the barriers and challenges that in most situations would keep them from moving, would keep them from pushing, would keep them from attempting, from reaching, from grasping. And it's not that they don't have the challenges. It's not that they don't encounter the barriers. It's that they make a decision to move through them, to move around them, to move past them, to make their way out to the leading edge. And so that's what this conversation is about tonight. That is the inspiration behind Propel. That is the hope. That is the chief aim for this broadcast tonight, that something is said in this dialogue, in this exchange, that would really compel you to make that move, just one step. If we can just expand your thinking tonight or have you thinking differently about where you are or who you are or how you're showing up, then our work here on Propel is done tonight. And so, as I said, it's our goal and our chief aim tonight that we are able to ignite something in you that would propel, that would push you forward. Think about what a propeller does to really push you forward out. Then that is our goal tonight. So I said all that to say I've got a very special guest with me tonight here on Propel, Jackie Robinson. I'm going to read just a little bit of her bio. It is extensive. I told her, girl, you got a whole book for a bio. I know some people doing some things. So Jackie is founder and CEO of She Boss Unlimited. She Boss Unlimited is committed to providing professional development resources and business networking events that are carefully planned to provide the women of the tribe with valuable tools, information, connections, and other resources that will help them strengthen their brands both personally and professionally. She's an experienced success strategist, expert in leadership and professional development. Jackie has been recognized as a training expert by Training Industry Magazine in 2017, which is the leading source for human resources and training professionals, and also named a training leader to watch by Training Magazine as well. Her signature coaching models, Flip, Reap, and Act, have earned her the title, the Successability Coach. Welcome to Propel tonight, Jackie Robinson.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I love what you do with these. I have watched and I've tuned in to those wonderful and fabulous leading edge professional women that you've had on before me. And, I am inspired myself by just listening to others. So, I commend you for developing this series because I think it's much needed. And for women who are professionals and who are out here doing the work that I do, it's beneficial to us as well. So I just want to say thank you, for one, for creating the platform, and two, for having me on as a guest.
Yeah, I think you said something that's so key, just about creating platforms, and I really struggled with, would I even do this? It was a thing that was in my heart for a really long time. And, sometimes we are so, ready to get on a platform, ready for someone else to see us or to, call us to the table. And I think that we are in a season and we are in a day and time where it is imperative that we begin to create those tables and create those platforms and create those opportunities. And so that is what Propel is tonight. So thank you so much for being here. So Jackie, as we get into this conversation tonight and you think about what it means to be a limitless leader, and thinking about the work that you do, that you've been inspired divinely to do over at She Boss Unlimited, what does that really look like? What does that stir up? What does that bring to mind as She Boss and Limitless leader, kind of juggling those two things?
Well, I have the word unlimited in the name of my business. So, we definitely are on the same page when it comes to that, because it kind of coincides with exactly what you were describing a little bit earlier. She Boss Unlimited is all about the woman not being bound by the limits that society and status quo has placed on us traditionally. The unlimited stands for that woman who is going to go forward in her purpose and go after her goals and her visions without limitations. And she is going to be that limitless leader. She's going to do the things that she needs to do. She's going to stand firm on what she believes in. She's going to go for what she deserves in spite of those limits that have been placed on us. So that's what She Boss Unlimited really means. She is a boss in her own right, and she is not going to allow what society has put in place, the obstacles that many of us have and are still facing, to stop her from doing what she wants to do. And that's really what the work of She Boss Unlimited is all about, is to inspire and empower women to do just that, to be that limitless leader and to go for what she deserves. And that encompasses a whole lot within the work that I do. But for number one, it definitely is empowering that woman through resources, through coaching, through events, and through talks and platforms such as this, to empower her to be that limitless leader. Take the limits off.
Yeah, I know you've done a lot of work really building that She Boss community, and you've got the virtual space that you're holding for women and that you're serving women in. And prior to the pandemic, you had the live events that you would host and facilitate to really bring women together to really, create a place to exchange some of those resources and make those connections and really create that community. I think community is so important. It's our natural state. I often say it is how we were created to be in community. And so talk about just some of the challenges that you see, over and over again as you serve women in this community. When we think about where it is that we want to be, kind of like that leading edge I was talking about, and then when we compare that to where it is that we are, where we really find ourselves, there's, what we call in education, like the zone of proximal development. So what stands between where it is that we are and where it is that we desire to be or to see ourselves? Talk a little bit about some of the challenges that that you work with women through in that way.
Most definitely, it's mindset is one of the biggest challenges. Women
Mm-hmm.
have to really, really be conscious that, but you got to be self-aware though. You have to be self-aware to realize that your mindset is not quite where it really needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset is a challenge. Getting people to change their minds. That is
Mm-hmm.
a challenge and an obstacle because, the sad part, Stephanie, is that we as women actually buy into some of the stereotypes that have been created for us. And I don't think that women really realize that sometimes we are operating in the mindset of that. We've somehow accepted some of those rules about how we are supposed to be as women. And those mindsets can actually be limiting to us. We've been so used to functioning in that realm and in that mindset and in that space that we start to accept it as who we are
Mm-hmm.
and who we're supposed to be. Like, how we're supposed to be as women, how we're supposed to be as leaders, how we're supposed to show up. We have adopted a lot of that subconsciously for the most
Yeah.
part. And it's hard sometimes to shift the mindset from that because, again, you talked about comfort zones a few minutes ago because we're comfortable in that space. We're not comfortable rocking the boat. A lot of us are not comfortable being, I created a post the other day that said nice girls don't always win. We're not
Yes.
comfortable sometimes not being the nice girl. And I'm not saying nice girl in a way to be a negative, but the one that's going to speak up and speak out when we've been told to sit back and be quiet. That's the main thing
Mm-hmm.
that I see as far as a challenge when it comes to the coaching and the developing of people. Is the first thing I try to work with, and that goes along with my flip model of coaching that falls in there. It's dealing with the mindset because we're flipping some things. We got to flip some things first before we
Yeah.
can move on to the other work that needs to be done. And mindset is an
Yeah.
obstacle for many.
I like that you talked about that because a lot of the work that I do at Transformation Living Systems is around mindset. I've had people reach out to me about, branding and, all this kinds of stuff. And I'm like, guys, I'm not a branding strategist. I'm not a business strategist. Like, I don't help people set up businesses. When I first started writing books, people would, reach out to me for self-publishing support. Can you help me write my book? Whole website, like all this stuff. And I'm like, that's not my area. Like, that's not my gift zone. Like, that's not the place where I hang out. I am really strategically and specifically called to help to shift the mindset. And that can seem like a very abstract concept because we want something concrete. If we go into a business agreement with someone, we want to walk out with something in hand. And sometimes people don't always see the shifting of the mindset as, that concrete thing that, that you've paid for that I leave this session with. But what I tell women, especially when I was kind of started out and doing some coaching, like everything stems from the mindset. And so if you're trying to build something, it could be something great. But if the mindset, because the mindset is really considered like a house, it's the foundation. And so if you're trying to build something from a rocky foundation, then you're going to have it's going to be a rocky project. Like it's the law. That's the way it works. And so I believe, Jackie, that women don't invest enough time and energy in, the mindset work and the mindset coaching and, that piece of it, because that lays the foundation. For some of you that are watching tonight, you may be thinking about, oh, I've got this great, business idea and I can't wait to get a logo and a website. Like those things are great, but they don't produce anything if the mindset isn't right. And so focus on, I love that you started out talking about the mindset, because really, like I said, everything really comes and really emanates, if you will, from that place. So don't neglect the mindset. One of my mentors said years ago that a man's mind is the hardest thing to change. But once it's changed, everything else about him will follow suit. And so it is the work of really, really changing that mind. And then you talked about a second concept. You were talking, I'm taking notes. That's the educator in me, writing down everything that somebody's talking about self-awareness. Just elaborate on that a little bit and how important. So what does that even look like? Because I believe we're in a culture that is so fast paced and there's so much happening around us, and we're constantly on social media and, making judgments about what's good and what's bad and who's in and who's out. Like we're so much time is spent out, but I believe the power is in. So talk a little bit about that self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Well, I mean, the first thing you have to do before you start trying to do anything is you have to know who you are and who you are not. Otherwise, you're going to be around here just running in circles. You're going to be around here like a chicken with his head cut off, as my grandmother used to say. Just running or just aimlessly living through life and not really making impact, never hitting a target ever. You have to be consciously aware of who you are. And that means everything about you. Know yourself. Nobody should know you better than you know yourself. Self-awareness is the first thing that you need to do. Find out exactly who you are.
Yeah.
What do I like? Who am I really? Not what society says you should be. Not what your family said that you should be when you grow up.
Yeah.
None of that. Yeah. Find out exactly who you really are from here. From the heart. Who am I and who am I not? Who do you not want to be? That self-awareness is going to be the first thing that's going to help you with developing your mindset, getting your mindset developed. Because self-awareness, that means understanding the good, the bad, and the ugly about yourself. Not just all the fabulous things about you. You need to understand what your areas of opportunities are. I don't use the word weakness all the time. Every now and then I do. But instead of using the word weakness, I like to say areas of opportunity. That means ways that you can improve. Find out that. And going back, self-awareness requires you to think about the things that shape you. And the things that shape you are your habits, your attitudes, your beliefs, and your expectations.
Oh, that's so good, Jackie. We could build a whole series around just this piece right here. So
that's self-aware. Understand what your habits are. What are they? Why do you have them? Where did you get them from?
Yeah.
Your attitudes. Yeah. Why do you think what you think? Why do you why do you think? Why do you act the way you act? I mean, you really need to think about that. Ask yourself, why does that bother me so much? Or why do I get excited about this? Your beliefs started developing a long time ago from your families. Some of that is generational. Not all of it is good either.
That's right.
Not all of it is good. So that's why you really need to understand what your belief system are. What is your belief system founded on? What kind of things do you need to clean up that may have been ingrained in you earlier, but now you've become a grown-up, an adult, and you understand that doesn't really resonate with who I really want to be. And then your expectations. Your expectations usually are stemmed from your experiences. What are your expectations in life? So once you get all of that apart, there's a part of self-awareness, understanding those things, habits, attitudes, your beliefs, and expectations. Once you get a clear idea of what those things are, then you can transition into the mindset, shifting your mindset in some of those areas of opportunity that you may need to be changing. And then you can think about your habits, attitudes, and beliefs and expectations in reference to what you want to do or what you desire to do as a business or as a profession.
Yes. And that's exactly where I was headed.
That's work.
That's where I was headed with that, because as you were talking about habits and beliefs and expectations that come from our experiences, all of those things we carry into, that makes up our belief system. And then we have these desires these things that we want to become or things that we want to accomplish. And it's not all about starting a business. It could be a ton of different things. It could be about losing weight, or, just, becoming healthier, or having better relationships, or, just finding joy in the work that you're doing. Like, it could look a lot of different ways. So I don't want you to tune in tonight and think that this is just about, us saying that you got to go start a business to be happy and to have fulfillment. That's not the message. But when you were talking, I thought about how we've got desires, things that we want to accomplish, but then we've got these habits, these beliefs, these expectations that don't coincide with what we want to accomplish or be or have. And there's just this constant collision. And so these things are just doing this and they never connect. And we keep saying, well, I want to do this. But the habits, examine the habits. How do the habits that you have support the desire that you say you have? How do the beliefs, I've got, for example, single friends that want to be married. Well, if you've got an attitude that all men are dogs and there are no good men left, and you believe that, and then you wonder why you are repelling the good guy. Well, because it's part of your belief system. And you are creating that experience through your expectations based on your experiences, like you talked about. And so it's just a big pot. Just imagine a big pot of stew, and everything is just in there, really just moving and working together. And either what is in there moving together is either moving you toward, or it is moving you away from the things that you desire. And I'm always amazed, Jackie, to really begin to pull back the layers and have conversations with women, and not even in a coaching standpoint, but just, it could be a girlfriend over coffee, or, a glass of wine or whatever, about where it is that they want to be, and then what they're currently doing that's moving them in that direction, or that is even in alignment with that. And sometimes I'm appalled because it's night and day. It is night and day. And my thought is how, and I'm not getting in God's business, because how is none of my business. But I'm thinking to myself sometimes, like, how in the world are you going to get here from there? Like, you're not even headed west. Like, California is west. You got to be headed west before you can even, you're going to make a whole lot of stops. It's a lot of different ways to get there, but it's definitely west. If I'm in Texas and I'm heading east, I'm going, you talk about around the world, I'm taking the long way. Like, I'm not even headed in the right direction. And it's so important. I love the word you used about cleaning it up. And we've got to clean up the beliefs and the habits and the expectations. This is the stuff people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about this.
No. And this is work. This is the hard part. Self-assessment is one of the hardest things for people to do. That is one of the hardest things for people to do. But I tell you, self-assessment is the most important assessment you will ever make in life. It's easy for us to assess other people and other things, but it's very hard to do a deep introspective assessment of self, because then you have to be honest about some things. Then you have to face some things. Then you have to come to the realization of some things if you're really doing an honest assessment. Now, some people, that's where you have to make the distinction: an honest assessment. An honest assessment. Because if you don't do an honest assessment, the work is not going to get done. The real work that needs to be done. You have to do an honest assessment of your habits, your attitudes, your beliefs, and your expectations.
And I like that, because you talked about self-awareness, and to me, the self-awareness leads to self-management, and then self-mastery. Like, mastery comes after management comes after awareness. And see, you can't manage, you think about those, sometimes even those in leadership positions at work and things like that, like, you can barely get to work on time yourself. Like, how can you really manage or lead in a space and you're not even really, what I'm saying? You're not even really doing things the right way. So that management, being able to self-manage, like you said, knowing yourself. Why does this excite me? Why does this infuriate me when people do this? Why do I respond to this? And it doesn't mean that you always have a clear answer, but it begins to start to shift the thinking. Then you become more aware and more conscious. And so, when this happens, I know that this rubs me this way. And so let me dig into that and find out what that's really about. And like you said, it's the work. It takes time. You don't go to a class. Let me tell y'all right now, I don't care what they tell you. You can't go pay a coach and write a check and somebody, turn a light bulb or turn a light switch on for you and fix these things. It's really, it's daily work. Like, you become aware. I believe that you can, it's a practice. Some of these principles become practices. The more that you do them, it becomes a part of your daily practice and how you think and how you show up and how your perspectives and things like that are shaped. So we have a question here that came up in the chat that says, how do my habits and beliefs support the desires of my heart? How do my habits and beliefs, Erica asked the question, how do my habits and beliefs support the desires of my heart? I like to think of it, Jackie, as a wedding, as a marriage, as an ultimate merger between desires and beliefs. Like, they literally have to get married and be compatible and, get pretty cozy so that they can co-create desires and beliefs. So what do you think about that?
Alignment. It's called alignment. Alignment. What you're talking about is alignment, Erica. It's alignment. And we have to learn to be alignment. You have to be aligned with what it is that you're trying to do. So, of course, there's going to be a misalignment. If somebody hasn't done that the pre-work of the self-assessment and the self-awareness, there's going to be a misalignment. I guarantee you.
And misalignment.
It's going to be misalignment. So what you're going to have to align. So what is it? Who am I versus what I want to do or who I want to be? Who are you now versus who you want to be? How close are they? And then you have to determine what over here is going to help you align with what's over there. What is it about who I am? What do I need to clean up and fix to help me to be who I want to be? And that could be mindset. I know I want to be a businesswoman, but I've always been told I'd never be anything. I've always been told. That's a belief. That's a part of that belief. So you have to fix that belief that no matter how hard you try, nobody in this family has ever been able to accomplish anything, and you won't either. You have to fix that belief to align with the fact that I'm going to be a successful blank, whatever that is that you desire to be. So you have to start aligning all of those things to make sure that you can fulfill the desires of your heart. But you got to do that self-assessment, self-awareness stuff first in order to figure out what it is you need to clean up to get what you want to get. Alignment.
I love it. That was actually my word last year. My word this year was discipline. And so every year, as I create a vision board and just kind of revisit my vision for the year, I create a word that really becomes an umbrella for my vision for the year. And last year, my word was alignment. And so everything that I did, I really ran through this idea of alignment. If it's in alignment with who it is that you, like you said, the person that I'm growing into and that I want to become, does this align? Does it support it? Does it help it? And it really becomes a filter. And, when you're talking about creating this vision for your life, whatever that looks like, everything is either pushing or pulling. Nothing's at rest. People, relationships, mindsets, those things are either pushing or pulling. And so thinking about what are the things that are pulling me away from what it is that I say that I desire, and what are the things and the people and ideas and beliefs that I have that are really pushing me in that direction. And those are the things that you want to begin to really lean into. I love that, but that alignment, oh my God, alignment over everything. So Jackie, I want you to think about this. Values are so important. A lot of times people will think that when we talk about values that we're talking specifically about, leadership roles or titles or, and my own belief is that leadership is about influence. And if you have the ability to influence, then you are leading. And, so it's not about roles. You don't have to be a supervisor. You don't have to be an executive, a manager, or even a business owner. You can be a single mom and be a leader. You can be, a CEO and whatever, and be in a leadership, and be a leader. So it's about having a level of influence. So when we think about that, as we lead we lead with our values, and those values come out in how we lead and how we interact. What are some of your core values, and how do those things show up as you lead and live?
Oh, my core value. I mean, my number one is really, it is really being empathetic, understanding people. Empathy is very important for you. If you're, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care where you're leading from, what position you're leading from, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily even have, but you have to be empathetic, because in order for you to have any kind of influence on anyone, you have to be able to relate to them. And if you
Yes.
can't be empathetic to people, you're not going to make the connection. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
really connect with you. You have to understand people's plight. You have to understand people's concerns. You have to understand the things that worry people and cause anxiety in people. What makes people who they are and what they're going through. A great leader is always going to be one that's empathetic. So I believe one of my core values is being able to, and that's really what's emotionally intelligent, really,
Mm-hmm.
understanding people, managing emotions, being empathetic, and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. I really, really believe in that. That's crucial to me. Is I just don't understand these leaders that, you know, they have no empathy whatsoever. I mean, they just absolutely are just completely hardened to how other people
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand. But it's reflective. It's reflective in their whatever work culture environment they work in, the productivity, the engagement, the retention. It's obvious though when you're
Yeah.
dealing with that. So empathy, being empathetic is one of those things. I really love to connect with people. I think it's important to build relationships. And in order to really be able to build sustainable and mutually beneficial relationships, you have to be empathetic.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
definitely one of my core values. Um, Another one
Yeah.
of my core values is accountability.
Mm.
I mean, be ye accountable for your own actions.
Yes.
Be accountable. Be accountable. I mean, we all fall short. None of us are perfect. I really don't care what level, how many years of experience. You can be the guru, you can be the expert, you can be the top dog or whatever you want to call yourself, but you are still not perfect. But we all need to be accountable for our shortcomings. We
Mm-hmm.
need to be accountable for those things. My core value is that, be accountable for what you and own your shortcomings, and then fix
Yeah.
them, work on them,
Yeah.
develop them.
I like when you talked about accountability. I jotted down growth factor. Like, it's so important that we live our lives where everything is really kind of filtered through this growth factor. That gives us, I think, the permission and the space and grace to grow into the things that we don't know, or that, aren't our strong suit, without feeling like, I have to be, like you said, it has to be perfect, or, I can't be vulnerable. I can't be transparent about my areas of opportunity. You can be accountable, but the growth factor in living life where, the goal is always to grow. And if my goal is always to grow, then I don't have to be worried about always having it right all the time. Or, I can remember as a principal being made to feel like I had to have the answer to every question that came across my desk. And that was my role. And that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. And so it
Absolutely,
wasn't
that is.
it wasn't until I left the principalship and started working with principals in a training capacity, doing some other work, that I realized my job was never to have all the answers. My job was to ask the right questions. My job was to create the conditions for the people that worked with me and that I worked with to solve the problems that came across her. Like, that was my job in that role. But because sometimes leadership paradigms or they aren't the best, and we pick those up like we do all of our other beliefs. And sometimes we are, made to believe that that's what leadership is about, or that's what being in charge is about. And I began to resent the space, because I was like, it's impossible so I'm supposed to know this and be an expert here and have know this and know that. I was like, that's impossible. And one of my superintendents said something that stuck with me for years. And he said that you can delegate responsibility, but you cannot delegate accountability. So ultimately, I was accountable for everything that happened in my building as a principal. I wasn't necessarily the person responsible, but I was accountable. And so the people that I then gave responsibility to, or who had certain responsibilities, in terms of their contribution, my goal and my role was to create the conditions for them to be able to do their work, for them to soar, for them to excel, for them to work through whatever challenges they may have faced. And it wasn't until I was out of the role and out of the heat of the seat that I understood that. And that really just turned a light switch on within me, and as I, consult with principals all over the state, I always bring that conversation up, in coaching conversations. I always bring that to the light, because a lot of them experience an immense amount of pressure in terms of having to have all the answers. And powerful leaders ask powerful questions. So that is your goal as a leader, is to be asking the right questions. So think about this. Where in your life and work do you have unrealistic expectations of yourself? It's a loaded question. It's a loaded question,
yes.
right?
I mean, knowing I know better, especially when I know better.
Knowing better and all.
Yes, knowing better. Knowing that, the unrealistic expectation is, of course, feeling like sometimes that, I'll be able to, solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And I know that is unrealistic. I'll be able to handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. And I know better. But, the mind sometimes, that's because that's what I desire. And so sometimes our desires can create those unrealistic expectations. I know, because I coach myself, y'all. I'm telling you, I have to coach myself sometimes. I have to talk to myself like, now, okay, now you're not going to be able to do all that. That's very ambitious of you. But, realistically speaking, you're going to have to break that down some. So I have unrealistic expectations of believing that I will be able to do everything that's asked of me sometimes.
Yeah.
I have done that before. Just everything that has been asked of me, thinking that, okay, I can handle it. I can handle it. I can handle it. Not that I doubt myself or anything. It's just sometimes there may be situations where I'm not going to be able to handle that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I might not be able to handle it to the capacity that needs to be handled at the moment. And so I'm that person that tends to allow my plate to be overflowing. And I know I need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because I put too much on my plate, because I'm trying to handle too many things at one time. And I'm going to be honest, because transparency, leaders have to be transparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why so much stuff is falling off plate sometimes, because control.
Yeah.
Control. I don't like to relinquish control sometimes. I have to be in control of stuff sometimes. And that can be to a fault sometimes. And I'm doing much. And I need to go sit down somewhere sometimes and regroup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I get it. I suffer from that too, Jackie. I feel like if you want it done a certain way, you may as well do it yourself. And by the time you coach somebody into doing it the way you really want it done, you just I get it. Like, I totally suffer from that. So we need to see the same therapist. I understand that. I get that. So
yes.
So this year has been unprecedented in so many ways. If you just think about all that has happened, really, over the course of kind of the last probably 9 or 10 months, it has just been back to back to back. just so many things that we've never really seen before. Some things that we thought weren't as bad as they were, or even, they're worse than we really imagined them to be. Like, so much has been thrown at us this year. But I believe that there are many that have been still able to prosper in the pandemic, that there are those that have still had some, incredible and phenomenal things happen in their life or in their business in the midst of some of the most uncertain times ever. So talk, about a couple of the things that you have taken out of this year, out of this pandemic, that have really strengthened you personally as well as professionally.
Oh, wow. So, yes, everything that you just said. I mean, 2020 just showed up and just acted a fool. I mean, just really shut all of our plans down and everything. But what I took out of this, I mean, this was the year that I probably reassessed the most. This gave me the gift of reassessment. I mean, deep reassessment. 2020 gave me that. And realignment. I mean, sometimes you have to reassess, realignment. That gave me the gift of that, the gift of being still, the gift of time. Gave me some time that I might not have otherwise had if I was still busy doing everything that I had planned for 2020.
Yeah.
I would not have had some of the time that I have been given this year to sit back and to reassess and to realign and rethink some things, and just to get a little bit more spiritually connected, spiritually connected and aligned. That has been the gift to me. 2020 gave me the time in the midst of the pandemic. Some things were birthed in the midst of the pandemic, as far in my personal life and as far as my business goes. They won't be manifested until 2021 and beyond, but the concept was birthed during this time of this pandemic. And so I am very grateful. I try to look at the silver lining, and I appreciate, and I try to look at it as my gift of the pandemic. That's what I call it, my gifts of the pandemic.
Yeah. And it's so crazy.
And so there was so much I was able to do something.
Going out of last year and into, this time last year, going out of 19 into 20, all you hear and would see is 2020 vision, 2020 vision, 2020 vision. And as I was jotting down, when you were talking about all of the gifts and all of the beauty that came from some of the challenges, those things really sharpened the vision. Like that was the vision. Like everything that happened, and for some of us, we had to go the long way to get to where we wanted to be. But I feel like that sharpening of the vision that you're talking about, that really happened. Like that happened out of some of the most chaotic times that our nation and our country has ever experienced. And it's like, wow, how do you can't explain it, but how do you even connect the two? One of my friends, Kate Llewellyn, says it's possible to be experiencing the best of times and the worst of times at the same time. And so that's kind of what you talked about, and so where people were beginning to fold and crumble and really just emotionally unravel, I think a lot because of the lack of, human connection that's needed. For others, they were able to soar and to build, and like you said, to hit the reset button and to, enter a new level of strategy and all of that for things to come. So it has just been just an incredible year. I don't think we'll ever forget it. And I am, today is December 1st. I always say it's the beginning of one, the end of one thing is the beginning of another. So we are leaving out of this space. And it is just my hope and prayer that there is, that there is something else that is brewing and that is coming. But I believe it's back to our original conversation, Jackie, around mindset. I believe it is how we are choosing to think about where we are. And even in the pandemic, is life happening to you or is it happening for you? And so when I hear you talk about the gifts of the pandemic, that says to me that you are still allowing life, as crazy as it is, you're still allowing it to happen for you and not to you. So, Jackie, as we close tonight, and you alluded to this a little bit ago, I want you to think about if you were your own coach or your own advisor, what kind of advice would you be giving yourself as we kind of close out this chapter, close out this year, get ready to move into a new year, into a new space? What kind of advice would you be giving yourself right now?
Oh, wow. Oh, so many things. I'm just throw some things out there. First thing, because one of the primary things that I do is leadership development. And one of the things that I would say myself as a coach is to, before you start trying to coach anyone else, to lead anyone else, learn to lead yourself first. And I think you
Mm-hmm.
kind of talked about some of that as first. How can you be telling other people what to do, how to do whatever? You don't have those skills within your own self. I would
Yeah.
coach myself that lead yourself first, become a
Mm-hmm.
leader of self before you get into the leadership of other things. That's most definitely what I would say. And I would be coaching myself based on leadership because that's what I do. I would tell myself the true measure of a strong and effective leader is not what you do, but who you are. It's not what you do. Leadership is not about doing primarily. It's about
Yes.
being.
It's about
Leadership is more
being.
about being than doing. It's about being than doing. Be accountable, like we said. Be transparent. Be
Yes.
empathetic. Be
Yes.
responsible. Be relatable. All that. Be coachable. That's
Yes.
one of the things that most leaders need to know. They need to be coachable as well. That's why you have
Yeah.
executive coaches out there. Just because you are considered a leader or in a leadership position does not mean that you've grown beyond the level
Mm-hmm.
of profession where you need to be coachable. So be coachable. So you have to be before you can start doing. When a
Yeah.
leader can be all of those things, then they can do a whole lot. So those are the things that I would definitely teach myself. You have to be a leader. You have to be a leader of self before
I
you
like
can.
that.
So those are the
I like
things
that.
that I would say to myself.
Yes.
Those are
Lead
the things
self
that I would be
leadership
saying to
and
myself if I.
that self leadership is it's a can of worms. I mean, we could so much happens
Mhm.
right there, and like I said earlier, I think it's one of the most neglected places, of all times because there's so much time and energy spent on other things and other people, and the opportunities for us to grow ourselves. We just kind of, we glance over it. So as we get ready to wrap up tonight, Jackie, talk to those that are on the broadcast about what is next for She Boss. What can they see? You guys will see her website is there, tickering across the screen tonight. Take a moment, go there, visit. She's got some great resources and great things there. So talk to us in closing a little bit about what you have planned for this next season.
So, like I said, the pandemic has given me a lot of gifts, and there's been some spiritual downloads, and there has been some new concepts birthed. And one of those is there's going to be a workshop series, and this is going to be geared more towards women entrepreneurs. This is one of things, and it's called A Woman About Her Business. And there's going to be a series of workshops that are going to take place, and it's going to be different things related to that a woman needs to do when she is building, growing, or planning a business startup. And that's
Mm,
all about preparing for business, the things you need to do to instead of as you prepare for business. A lot of people just jump into business with no preparation. It could be a great business idea or concept, but they haven't properly prepared for business. So all
I
about
like that.
preparing yourself, including mindset. Mindset most definitely will be a part of that, preparing for business. Even about how to develop visibility for your business and things like on how to make sure that you are getting the visibility that you need as a business with search engine optimization. This is going to be a technical workshop and something that a lot of women shy away from, but it's important that we need to know it, especially as small business owners. The things you will be surprised, the little things that you could do to change your ranking on how you are showing up on the World Wide Web, and how to make sure that your business is visible. If I'm typing in or Googling a keyword that's related to your business, there's a workshop that's going to
Oh,
be in
wow.
there of all of the steps you need to be doing to optimize your visibility on the World Wide Web. So there's going to be a series of about 4 different workshops in this Woman About Her Business workshop. A person can sign up for all 4 of them. There may be a 5th one, or they could take them a la carte, whichever one that they think that they may need. But that's one thing that's going to be coming up. I most definitely
Yeah.
am going to be doing on the side of well, let me just go ahead and say it's going to be as far as developing a database for high potential career women. So I am going to be
Mm.
working with some companies and corporations who they will come to my database and look for women, especially those companies who are looking for women, looking to hire and fulfill those diversity and inclusion numbers and fulfill all these promises that they say about trying to get more women in key positions. I will be building a database of high potential women that these particular employers, when they're looking for women to fill particular roles, they can come and look at the She Boss Unlimited database. That's going to be coming up as well. I was going to keep a lid on that a little bit, but I'm going ahead and
No,
put it out there. I'm not. It's
I'm
out
glad
there.
you put it out there, girl. I need to get in the database. I said I need to get in the database. That sounds like my kind of stuff, baby.
Yes.
I'm
So
like,
I.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. So that is something new that's going to be coming from She Boss Unlimited because again, I want to be able to provide all kinds of different resources for women, the corporate woman and the entrepreneur woman.
Yes.
That's I'm here for all, but both of those types of women are my target market, my target audience.
Yeah.
High potential, career driven, and ambitious career women and female entrepreneurs. That's who my target audience is. And so, yes, that database, working on that, trying to get together, and we're gonna have profiles.
I love it.
You can be spot, all that kind of stuff on there. So, those
I
are
love
just
it.
2 of the things that are going to be coming up and going to be initiated in the year 2021. More details will be coming out. What I will say is if you want to stay abreast and stay aware of when the Women About Her Business workshop series starts, go ahead and go to the website, bottom of your screen there or on the screen, shebossunlimited.com, and just sign up, opt in to be on the mailing list. So you will get notification when that series is about to start. So you again, like I said, you can partake in the whole series, or you can do the workshops a la carte, whatever works for you. But go ahead and go to She Boss Unlimited, sign up to be on the mailing list, and you will be notified once that series is available to launch.
Well, it sounds like 2020 has definitely been a year of downloads and just recalibrating and resetting is in terms of the work that you do over at SheBoss. So, Jackie, it has been a pleasure to connect with you tonight, to have you here on Propel, to have the viewers that have heard from you, those that have had questions. Hopefully, if you're on, you've gone over to SheBoss and connected with Jackie and got, signed up to be on the mailing list so that you can learn more about the work. The database, I think, is just a grand idea. I love that idea. So if that's something that speaks to you or something that resonates with you, definitely go connect with her again there. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that through the mailing list. So as we close tonight, I have just one thing that I want to add on top of all that we've talked about today, and that is December 1st is today, and today we will start taking nominations for Making History in Heels 2021. So if you are on the broadcast tonight, if you are familiar with that part of our work and our brand, it's an opportunity every March during Women's History Month where we set aside a time to honor and really celebrate women that are right here in the Metroplex that are making just an amazing impact in their work, in their different fields, in their different areas. And we are accepting nominations. So if you know of a woman, and I just had a conversation with one tonight, If you know of a history maker in heels, a woman that is just making history, the theme this year is the unstoppable woman. And we know that many women have had an opportunity to stop in this pandemic. And then we hear about unstoppable women like Jackie Robinson that have just continued to press on in this pandemic, building, building themselves personally and professionally. Please, 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 guys, nominations are going to be open until December the 31st. So if you'll go to stephaniemara.com / making history in heels, go on. It takes about 5 minutes. The time you spend scrolling on social media and looking at crazy videos, you can go on and nominate a history maker. It is a very easy, seamless process. So if you are on tonight and in the Dallas area or know of amazing women in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please take an opportunity to nominate a history maker in heels. We're going to be honoring this year, Jackie, 6 incredible women here in the Metroplex. So I'd love to have your help with that. Again, Jackie Robinson, I'm so glad that we had this time together, that we were able to share this space. So proud of you. So glad to be connected to you, and that she lost the work and just the way that you're serving women. I think it's phenomenal. So guys, that is it for tonight. Once again, thank you for those of you that have been able to hang with us tonight on Propel. We will see you guys on the next time. I think we're back December 14th with our last guest for the 2020 year. So take the time, share this video, share this broadcast, and thanks for being here. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys on the next time.